Tonight, after more than a decade and extensive searches, a major development in a St. John's cold case. 20-year-old Joshua Miller has been missing since 2013, last seen after a night out with his friends.
The honor of my lifetime to have represented you and this place that we call home.
More than 3 decades spent serving Labrador. Today, Yvonne Jones makes her retirement from politics official.
This is CBC Here and Now.
Good evening and welcome to Here and Now. Police have identified the remains of a man who went missing almost 12 years ago. We now know that it was Joshua Miller's remains that were discovered yesterday morning in the east end of St. John's. Here and Now's Mark Quinn has more.
Police say they received a report of potential human remains in the area of a new housing development around 10 a.m. yesterday. It was at one end of Ballyhaley Golf Course near the town of Logie Bay, Middle Cove, Outer Cove. The chief medical examiner has now confirmed those remains are those of Joshua Miller. Miller was a 20-year-old university student when he was reported missing in 2013. He was last seen in that same area of St. John's near Stavanger Drive. Investigators say Miller got out of a taxi on February 9, 2013. In 2018, a police officer who investigated his disappearance said Miller was planning to become a police officer. He described Miller as a hard worker who held 2 jobs, one at a hardware store, the other as a bouncer downtown. Miller was on George Street with friends the last night he was seen. A citywide taxi driver reported dropping Miller off at 2 a.m. in the area of Blue Patee Drive, where police said he was meeting a friend. It was a cold February night and Miller was wearing just a t-shirt and jeans. The RNC say foul play is not suspected at this time, and Miller's cause of death remains under investigation. Police say people living near the area where Miller was found can expect an increased police presence throughout the weekend. Mark Quinn, CBC News, St. John's.
Well, a tense scene in St. John's last night when police breached a house on Cashin Avenue with tear gas and an armored police vehicle. A 38-year-old man and a 43-year-old woman were arrested and face 130 charges following a joint raid by the RCMP and RNC. Police say they seized a wide range of weapons and drugs from the house, including a rifle, brass knuckles, a switchblade, and what they suspect is fentanyl. The woman faces more than 50 charges, while the man faces almost 80. He was also wanted on an outstanding warrant. Police expect further charges will be laid. In other news, Yvonne Jones said it was a difficult decision, but the right one for her to make. The MP joins 4 other Liberal MPs from this province who've announced they'll not be seeking re-election. The CBC's Julia Israel has more from today's announcement in Labrador.
Today, I want to tell the people of Labrador that it has been my honor, the honor of my lifetime, to have represented you and this place that we call home. I am therefore announcing today that I will not re-seek the nomination or run in the next federal election.
After a more than 30-year run, Liberal MP Yvonne Jones is stepping down from politics.
You know, it's very nostalgic. It was a tough decision, but I know I'm ready. This place is in my heart and so is its people. So forgive me if I am emotional, but it's just my deep love for place and people that brings me to this moment.
Jones's political career started in 1991 as mayor of her hometown, Mary's Harbour, moving to provincial politics in 1996, becoming the youngest female MHA in the province's history at the time.
For me, my greatest success in politics has been a young girl coming from a small remote village in southern Labrador who didn't know what it was to drive on a highway, who campaigned in 1996 in February in my snow boots and my fur hat, asking the people of Cartwright Lansinclair to support me, and they did.
Jones made history again, the first woman to lead a political party in the province. A priority for her has always been paving the Trans-Labrador Highway.
And there is not a year in government in my political office that we did not deliver funding for that Trans-Labrador Highway. That is probably my proudest accomplishment as an MHA and as an MP.
Jones served Labrador for almost 34 years, despite 2 battles with breast cancer.
Labradorians, as I publicly battled cancer twice, you touched my heart with your show of affection as you cheered me on in the fight of my life.
But now, she says the timing is right for her to make her exit.
It's a time for me to look at what are the other things I want to do in my life. What other opportunities are out there? What other adventures do I want to embark on? I'm sure this is not the end of Yvonne Jones, I can tell you that.
Julia Israel, CBC News, St. John's.
Well, the Churchill Falls MOU passed last night after 4 days of debate in the House of Assembly. The Liberals, NDP, and independent MHAs supported it, and despite government's announcement of extra independent oversight of the deal, the PCs walked out. Here Now's Heather Gillis reports.
Speaker, the ayes 25, the nays 0.
That's the moment, the late-night vote on the historic Churchill Falls agreement. A vote without the Conservatives. They walked out.
We're not against the MOU. What we are is for making sure we get the best deal possible for Newfoundland and Labrador.
Those in support left the legislature grinning ear to ear, one MHA calling it the best day of his political career, others calling the Conservative walkout cowardly.
It takes courage to take a decision.
The industry minister calls the walkout disrespectful.
To not vote, to walk out of that house, walk out on your constituents, I think it's a coward's move.
We move to following amendment.
At the 11th hour, Conservative Barry Pettin tried to stop the vote, force the deal to be examined by the Public Utilities Board first. But that effort failed. The PCs have been crying out for independent oversight throughout the session. Yesterday, government capitulated, appointing the consumer advocate to lead an independent expert panel of 3 people. It will report to Cabinet, and the public will see the advice, but not the sensitive commercial info used in negotiations. The PCs are questioning the advocate's independence. They want the head of the Muskrat Falls inquiry to weigh in.
I don't believe the consumer advocate, as I pointed out, is the right person to do that. Again, in the House today, we offered the suggestion of actually reaching out to Judge LeBlanc himself and asking him to appoint an independent group of people who would actually do the review.
Meanwhile, in a statement, the consumer advocate says his oversight team will work on behalf of people, provide factual information for them to rely on. The CEO of Newfoundland and Labrador Hydro, Jennifer Williams, is adamant the deal will pay off today and be more fair in the future.
And this is the best deal.
Premier Andrew Furey says independence and checks and balances are baked into the deal.
And there will constantly be opportunities to reevaluate our position.
He says the agreement will be one of the most significant in the province's history. Newfoundland and Labrador Hydro will now start work to turn the MOU into a final contract by April 2026, then bring it back to the House for more scrutiny. Heather Gillis, CBC News, St. John's.
And as you heard, the head of NL Hydro believes this is the best deal for the province. Jennifer Williams says benefits from Churchill Falls will start coming through even before billions begin to flow. And she read out a long list outlining why she feels so confident.
I'm going to go through very quickly what I think are the really high points about what this opportunity provides to us today, in this moment, not in 17 years. No more veto power for Quebec. Improved water management for the facilities that exist on the plant and all future facilities. Neutral governing law, not Quebec law, a fair umpiring. 4 guaranteed mega projects, which unlocks the ability for other mega projects. 17 years early. fairness, which did not exist in the existing contract. $227 billion, plus more with additional spin-offs direct to provincial treasury. Access to power. We can finally say yes with confidence to the folks that we have been entertaining at the boardroom table and that we have met with up in Labrador for years. Years of analysis that informed this MOU with the best advisors we could buy. We have de-risked picking the wrong pricing for decades to come. We're getting the equity paid to be majority owners in projects. I don't know how that gets done anywhere else. We are getting our equity paid. We are majority owners. No risk of cost overruns. We are taking back control of that river. And this is the best deal.
Well, after 2 years without one, residents on Fogo Island are getting their bank back. Atlantic Edge Credit Union officially opened a branch on the island this week and held a ribbon-cutting ceremony. Mayor Andrew Shea says the town had been looking for someone to take over for a while after Scotiabank closed the community's only bank in August 2022. He says the credit union will provide all the same services, which will make a big difference to residents.
You wouldn't believe the relief. We have to go to Gander to get banking service. It takes, it's a 3-hour trip for the ferry. It's an hour and a half across, an hour and a half back. It takes about 8 hours. Some people had to take a half a day off work to just do regular banking. It's one of the best things that we've achieved since being on council. And I've been on council for 20 odd years now. And this is one of the biggest achievements because, the bank is an economic driver. You got to have a bank for business.
Well, Quebec Maritime Junior Hockey League executives were in St. John's today talking to business leaders about the new team and potential opportunities when the season starts. Here Now's Katie Breen took a shot at finding out where it all stands.
They have a team and they have a name. They just haven't come out with it yet.
I think one of the good things that we did do with the Growlers was name this team Newfoundland. And we like that, and you'll probably see that in the near future.
In the 3 weeks since the new team was announced, the league says it's sold 1,100 season tickets.
Like 1,100 right now without name, and that's huge, huge.
But the box office needs to stay busy in order for it to work. Stanford says the team will have to help pay for other teams to travel here. That's been the case before with other leagues, but he says it's an extra $300,000 or $400,000 off the bottom line. So keeping a team means filling the seats.
We now have an opportunity with the junior team to keep it here forever. And if it leaves, then it's our fault. The other ones were American Hockey League teams where they were National Hockey League affiliates, and we never really fully controlled where those teams were. Well, we do now. We do now. So onus is on us.
The Q has been here before. The Fog Devils played 3 seasons in St. John's, but that was 2 decades ago, and they say it's changed.
You can feel the buzz right now about it coming back. I've been at the league 20 years, and I've seen it evolve. Leaps and bounds of where it was 20 years ago.
Part of the buy-in could be local players. Teams don't get preferential picks based on province, but the league says teams often take on local talent, and the new team is already eyeing prospects.
Do we want Newfoundlanders? Absolutely. Are we looking at Newfoundlanders? Absolutely. Are we looking at the draft and what positions we have in the draft? Absolutely. But it's got to make sense.
The draft is in June, and the puck drops this coming September. Officials say we can expect an announcement for name and logo in a couple weeks. Katie Breen, CBC News, St. John's.
A little bit more wintry than it has been over the last little bit for parts of the island, thanks to an area of low pressure that is now sinking south. and we'll kind of get out of the way as we head through to the weekend. In fact, a nice big ridge of high pressure will move in. We still have some warmer air, but we definitely have some colder air in parts of Labrador, particularly in the west. Wind chills tomorrow, at least in the morning, will be fairly chilly. You're sitting at about -5 now, but as we head through to the weekend and into next week, still hanging out in that cooler air for western portions of Labrador and starting to head a little bit further east as well. We'll get into all the details coming up a little later. Look at that one over there.
Is this good?
Yeah, a little bit more. That felt good.
Therapeutic almost. There's a wrestling ring down there. What's that about?
This is wild.
Students in the K-12 system are struggling on a number of fronts, and those issues need to be addressed before they leave high school and make their next move. And that's according to the province's interim report on education. Here and Now's Jenna Head has more.
New school, new classmates, new instructors. Transitioning within the K-12 system can be tough on students, and making the move to post-secondary even more stressful. Those running those institutions say first years don't have to have it all figured out, but they do need extra support.
There's no right or wrong path. If you look at it, what are all the options? It's more important to know what are all the options so that someone can make an informed decision. And also, take the pressure off. It's not one decision. It's okay. You don't have to know your life path at 16 or 17 years old. In fact, if you did, that would be really worrying because the world is changing. It's okay to change your mind and change your paths and try things for a while.
The Department of Education says students are struggling. It's seeing chronic absenteeism in K-12, mental health issues, young people struggling to catch up after COVID. And it wants to address those head on with a new model that recognizes a student's health and engagement. It all plays a part in their success.
Education Accord NL is working on a plan to ensure students and learners at all levels receive the educational services that they need, that they are prepared for a modern global economy, and that they develop strong decision-making skills to foster positive health and well-being.
And Munn says more support, especially at the start, means a higher likelihood students will succeed and stick around.
Certainly at Memorial, thinking quite a lot about retention of students beyond the first year, and that means, I think, providing a first-year experience that really helps with that university readiness, being prepared to do the type of learning that's going to happen in the succeeding years.
According to the report, Newfoundland and Labrador has one of the lowest adult literacy rates in the country, which can make it hard to get a job, engage with your community. The province says its new model will focus on the individual student and their needs.
Just how it plans to implement this approach isn't clear, but dramatic changes could be taking place this year, hopefully making the transition from here to here a little easier. Jenna Head, CBC News, St. John's.
Well, a bar owner in downtown St. John's is warning customers to avoid taking rides from strangers downtown. The owner of the Newfoundland Embassy has been seeing a rise in random drivers trying to pick up George Street patrons to give them rides. Niall Hickey says those drivers are claiming to be Uber drivers. Now, the move does come with the implementation of Uber last year, meaning unmarked vehicles are already looking for riders.
I see it happen mostly to women who had too much to drink, and so that's a big issue. We're all taught growing up, you don't get in strangers' vehicles, and this is no different. So.
Yeah. And how often are you seeing this?
Every single shift.
Really?
Every single night I close, I'll see it happen. So it's rampant. It's everywhere. A lot of service industry staff see it too all the time when they go home after shift, walk to the vehicle. There's people always asking, "You want to ride?" And they're not cab drivers, they're not Uber drivers.
In the aftermath of a weekend storm, a Hare Bay couple is looking to rebuild their little piece of heaven.
There's no words to describe really how it affects us because it's a part of our family.
That story tonight on Here and Now.
People in Bonavista Bay are still picking up the pieces after last weekend's storm. Fierce winds and a sea surge of more than 3 feet ravaged the coastline. Almost 1 week later, many families continue cleaning up and coming to terms with the damage. Here now's Troy Turner reports.
Beyond the wood and the material and even the money spent, this fishing stage carries immeasurable meaning for this Hare Bay family. And its damage in that weekend storm has had a great emotional impact.
The money is gone, and I don't know when we'll get to restore it, but the feeling of coming over here and seeing what we've spent years building, it's hard to explain. It takes the strength out of your body.
This stage has been nestled on this shore since 1943. That's when it was brought to Hare Bay from resettled Gooseberry Island. The Collins family bought it in 2018.
We've lived in Hare Bay for years, but we've always wanted to live by the water. So we bought this property just across from our stage there as a retirement home. And when this land came up for sale, of course, we thought, of course we're going to buy it.
There was no stone or anything going down here. It was just a wooden wharf right here, an old wooden wharf that I had to take apart. And then I got a friend of mine who owns the sand and gravel company. We got to work and got a lot of boulders and fill put in here. And then we started the wharf after that.
A sea surge and whipping winds over the weekend didn't destroy the stage, but the attached wharf, mementos, and months of hard work felt its wrath.
I felt so weak just from looking at the devastation, and actually we couldn't even get close to the stage because the surge was so high, and there was actually waves coming, like mist coming over the roof. And at that point, I just started praying that the stage would remain intact because that is, that's our most valuable thing.
The family lost a memorial bench, but all the pieces have been recovered and they plan to put it back together. The search is still on for another lost, meaningful gift. Decorative eagles.
If anybody were to find them washed up on shore, please return them because... So the sentimental things, the bench, thank God it's been recovered, but I would like to get the eagles back. It would be nice to get those back.
While the recent storm ravaged much of what the Collinses have built here over these past few years, they are not giving up on their little piece of heaven. And as soon as the time and the weather cooperate, they'll look to rebuild much of what they've lost here. Troy Turner, CBC News, Hare Bay.
Such a shame. That storm really did quite a bit of damage, particularly in that area on the island. So I guess looking at the weather now, Ashley, heading into the weekend, things are cooling down a little bit.
They are, yeah. We had another area of low pressure move through last night and into today, and it brought some windy weather to parts of the province. Let's take a look at what's going on. So overall, the winds were gusting anywhere from about 90 to as much as 118 kilometers per hour. St. Anthony saw the top spot there. Mary's Harbour, 102 kilometers per hour. Then Rigolette saw a wind gust as high as 98 kilometers per hour. So that area of low pressure has now moved south, but we're still seeing some gusty winds, particularly in the Port aux Basques area, 69 kilometers per hour right now. Burgeo, 56. And the Wreck House area is seeing those winds gusting as high as 52 kilometers per hour. And as far as those temperatures go, it's still mild, relatively speaking, across the island, anywhere from about 0 to 2 degrees right now. And we're starting to get into some of the colder air up across Labrador and Makkovik, -2. Same thing for Happy Valley Goose Bay. And the coldest temperatures are in Lab City right now at about -9. So we're going to continue to see that colder air as we head through the weekend, especially across parts of Labrador as a ridge of high pressure starts to dominate the weather picture. But for now, still dealing with some messy, wintry weather. Those of you that are in higher elevations are seeing some of this fall as snow, but for the most part, it is falling as a rain event. If I zoom in there for the Avalon, you can see some of that snow and rain on tap at the moment. So essentially that is going to continue as we head through tonight. It will eventually sink south, but still the potential to see some snow for coastal areas of Labrador and really all along the northeast coast of the island as well, with some clearing skies along southern areas of Newfoundland and even parts of the north coast of Labrador as well. This will continue through tomorrow morning for the most part, and overall temperatures will be sitting around the 0-degree mark, maybe even a little bit below, with those winds generally out of the north or northwest between 20 to 40 kilometers per hour. Still looking at minus single digits for the coast, but -18 tonight in Lab City. So certainly some of the coldest air that we've seen in a while. And winds not overly impressive, but there'll be a bit of a wind chill for you as you head through the overnight. Still looking coastal areas, likely seeing those gusts between 50 to 70 kilometers per hour. As far as snowfall accumulation goes through Sunday morning, that, like I said, that area of low pressure is sinking south, but we're still seeing some unsettled conditions for another area of low pressure that will sit offshore. So we could pick up, in some of the higher elevations further offshore, further inland rather, up across Labrador could see 15, 20 centimeters of snow, but for the most part along the northeast coast by the time we get into Sunday morning, generally 2 to 5 centimeters, so nothing significant by any means. And in fact, some of this could be some freezing drizzle, especially in the morning, or even drizzle altogether into the afternoon as you see that area of low pressure just sit offshore through the day on Saturday. That will eventually end, though, as we head through the overnight period as the ridge of high pressure starts to move in. That's what's bringing that colder air for western portions of Labrador, but it's also going to clear the skies out, which will be nice as we head into Sunday. Overall, our daytime highs tomorrow will sit between 0 and about +3 through the afternoon. Again, our northwesterly winds will stick around somewhere between 40 to as much as 50 kilometers per hour. And then across Labrador, minus double digits for Lab West. Again, tomorrow morning, your temperatures will be cold, so your wind chills will likely be into the -20s. That is not the case, though, in the southeast. Still looking at temperatures hovering around 0 or a little bit above, although it does look like what will fall is snow. And we will be seeing those chillier temperatures as well around Happy Valley Goose Bay and up through Nain, where temperatures will sit in the minus single digits. So this is going to continue. We're going to continue to see some of that colder air. I'll get into all those details a little later.
Well, as people gear up for the weekend, maybe a night downtown, a local bar owner is warning revelers about some disturbing activity he's noticed in the downtown area lately. Newfoundland Embassy owner Niall Hickey joins me now. So you've seen what appears to be fake Uber drivers in the downtown area. Can you tell us a bit about what you've noticed?
Yeah, quite often we see them. So after a shift, like between 12 and 3 o'clock at night usually, you'll see drivers come up and ask if they want to ride, and I've seen a lot of people say yes and jump in right away, but in reality they're not Uber drivers. They're just people driving around looking for cash jobs.
Right. How do you know that they're not Uber drivers?
Well, everyone knows that Uber works. You order it, you get the license plate number, make and model of the vehicle, the name of the driver. These people say they're Uber drivers, but if you didn't pre-book the trip, you can't pay them. Right, so it's pretty scary.
Yeah, and why is it scary? What do you think is happening here? Do you think it's just people trying to make a dollar by charging people for rides even though they don't work for Uber, or do you think there could be something a little bit more dangerous happening here?
I think definitely more dangerous. I see it happen mostly to women who had too much to drink, and so that's a big issue. We're all taught growing up, you don't get in strangers' vehicles, and this is no different. So.
Yeah, and how often are you seeing this?
Every single shift.
Really?
Every single night I close, I'll see it happen. So it's rampant. It's everywhere. A lot of service industry staff see it too all the time when they go home after shift, walking to the vehicle. There's people always asking, you want to ride? and they're not cab drivers, not Uber drivers. So.
And you posted on Facebook about this just to warn people about what you're seeing. And I did notice in the comments section a lot of people saying that they've noticed it, they've been approached as well.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep. It's not just isolated here at the embassy. It's everywhere downtown, and you'll see these cars constantly doing loops and loops and loops. And like the best thing to do is report them.
Right. And what do you do when you see it? Do you ever approach people and say, look, you might not want to get into that vehicle? Or?
Yep. So last Friday when I closed, I won't say any names of the patron, but she got out, and I noticed her get into a vehicle, and I stopped and said, "Hello, is this your Uber?" She said, "Nope, but he said he's one. He can drive me home." And I said, "Get out of that cab right now. Or get out of that car, because that is not an Uber driver. You need to book it yourself." And she listened, and she was really upset about it, but I see it way too often.
Yeah. What do customers say to you about this? Have they told you about their own experiences as well?
Yep. A lot of people always come in and say it. Someone's driving around trying to pick us up. I ask them to keep in mind the make and model of the vehicle and get the license plate number and report them. The police will deal with it like that because they're always around downtown. So.
Well, it's definitely a good safety message for people. Niall Hickey, thank you so much for telling us about it.
Thank you very much for coming in.
Returning now to Happy Valley Goose Bay, where Liberal MP Yvonne Jones has announced she's stepping away from politics and won't be seeking re-election in the next federal election. Jones was once the youngest MHA in the province, and over her 30-year career, she continued making history. Today, she shared some of her most memorable accomplishments.
It's very emotional because, even when I was trying to prepare some draft remarks or a statement, there's so many things you want to talk about, so many great things that happen over those periods of time, so many wonderful people who have been a part of this journey. I'm walking away from this job feeling good about what I've accomplished. And I think if I feel good, I'm hoping Labradorians feel good, and I know they do. I've had the ability to be able to sit with them in their homes, in their town halls. I've been able to represent them at some of the largest negotiating tables in the province as we negotiated the Voisey's Bay project, as we looked at expanding the mining sectors in Labrador, work we did around the Churchill development projects, building grids, bringing in new energy development. All of these things have been such an exciting part of the foundations that we built in Labrador, and to reflect back and see that I was at all of those tables at all of those different times. And sometimes it's hard to fathom the depth of it, The other thing I look at and go back through all the photographs of people I've met in communities who built their communities through many, many decades, and how they talked with me and shared with me knowledge of Labrador, gave me great advice and mentorship through the years. And, not all politicians have that. In Labrador, we have that. We have people who want to share with you their success and how we can be more successful. I think for me, my greatest success in politics has been a young girl coming from a small remote village in southern Labrador who didn't know what it was to drive on a highway, who campaigned in 1996 in February in my snow boots and my fur hat, asking the people of Cartwright-Lansinclair to support me, and they did. That today, at those doors then, I said, I want to make sure we get a highway in Labrador. Today I'm driving over 1,200 kilometers of paved road, and there is not a year in government in my political office that we did not deliver funding for that Trans-Labrador Highway. That is probably my proudest accomplishment as an MHA and as an MP.
Thank you.
Very nostalgic. It was a tough decision, but I know I'm ready. And I'm excited about the next chapter. Where I'm going on this journey, I don't know. But what I do know is that I've had an incredible opportunity in my life because of the people of Labrador. Whatever I do, it'll be serving them in one way, form, or another, because I love this place. And like all the people that live here, we work hard to try and continue to make lasting contributions. And I hope that I've been able to meet the expectations of the people who've put me in office over the last 30 years.
Powerful winds continue to fuel massive fires in the Los Angeles area, and as bad as these fires have been, even more devastation is expected in the years ahead. Susan Ormiston explains.
A smoky dawn reveals LA County's reckoning with deadly fire and changing climate.
This is absolutely an unprecedented historic firestorm.
And it was not out of nowhere. Santa Ana winds expected, but not at near hurricane levels, and they whipped up flames over bone-dry land. Since July, the second driest period in LA in over 150 years.
Normally, we should have a rainy season that begins predictably in November or at least December, and we've had nothing.
Morgan Tingley is a forest ecology scientist at UCLA. He can see the Palisades fire glow from his window.
It's Los Angeles today. It could be Toronto tomorrow and Vancouver the next day. The scale of what we're seeing is global. That is climate change.
The cause of the fire remains unknown, and it continues to be under active investigation.
What ignited the first flames? A mystery, but more explainable why they spread so hot. Scientists report that climate change caused by burning fossil fuels translates to a longer fire season and more intense, especially in Southern California.
The elements all come together to create kind of a perfect storm. And these conditions really allow wildfires to blow up and get really extreme, burn really fast, erratic, hot.
A picture that looks much like this, prompting shock and tears.
I just evacuated my house, packed all my things.
From people who've tried to connect the dots between climate and increasing disasters, this activist posted her frustration, then talked to us.
How many times have I sat here and watched other places? And now this time I am the place that other people are watching. This isn't just wildfires, this is hurricanes, this is floods. We are just the latest iteration and the latest casualty. It is incredibly upsetting. The fact that I can't sit here and say this will be a turning point.
To the contrary, a warning of more to come. Susan Ormiston, CBC News, Toronto.
And still with the climate, Earth has recorded its hottest year ever in 2024. Weather monitoring agencies say the jump was so big, the planet temporarily passed a major climate threshold. And many scientists see that increase as a tipping point. They say that if temperatures continue to stay that high, we could experience intensifying wildfires, droughts, floods, hurricanes, and storm surges. Last year's temperature broke the previous record set in 2023 by just over 0.1 degrees Celsius. In the 2015 Paris Agreement, 196 countries agreed to limit global warming to 1.5 degrees Celsius, above that of pre-industrial times. And there's growing concern about the safety of personal information belonging to Canadian children. Hundreds of schools across Canada and the U.S. have been hit by a major cyber attack. Schools in this province are also affected. We brought you that story earlier this week. Both staff and student data may have been leaked. And as Deanna Sumanak-Johnson reports, it's part of a troubling pattern.
Toronto father Jack Amendolia was sharing his concerns about an increasing number of cyber attacks at his son's school board when he got an email about a new breach. A major cyber incident involving PowerSchool, the application used by many school boards across North America to store a range of student information.
It could have been addresses and phone numbers, and so then they know, a child, a gender, an age, where that person lives.
This breach, affecting hundreds of thousands of families across the country, is the latest in a string of high-profile cybersecurity incidents hitting Canadian schools. Last month, Pembina Trails School Division in Winnipeg was hit by a cyber attack that, among other things, compromised personal information of students and paralyzed email and phone systems.
For us, that basically shut down everything we use, computers, PA systems, attendance online, there was no internet.
Gone are the days of signed paper forms. Information about everything from medical history to the names of people who are allowed to pick children up are submitted online. And all that makes schools and information about children prized prey for cyber criminals.
These are fresh identities. They take an address, a phone number, and a name, and can create a synthetic social insurance number and try to apply for things like loans online.
School boards or parents can also be asked for ransom money. Experts say one silver lining is cyber attacks often result in better security, like two-step authentication. Ween suggests parents push back if they're asked to provide information that seems excessive.
Limiting the information and where you put the information and what information you give out is key, and asking tough questions.
Something Amendolia intends to do as parents and educators grapple with how to bring schools into the digital age while safeguarding kids' data. Deanna Sumanak-Johnson, CBC News, Toronto.
Well, it's Friday, so let's find out who's celebrating. Congratulations to Bruce and Gail Stevenson, who are celebrating 50 years of marriage. Happy 50th anniversary as well tomorrow to Arnold and Jeanette Benoit of Cape St. George. Wishing Lillian and Gerald Pinn of Hants Harbor a happy 58th anniversary. Anniversary greetings going out to Silas and Blanche Rogers of Musgrave Town. They've been married for 67 years. Happy 59th anniversary to Eugene and Lorraine Bowen of St. Mary's. Greetings from family and friends. Congratulations to Herb and Viola Hewitt of McCormick. They're celebrating 68 years of marriage. Happy 61st anniversary to Jean and Bryce Thompson from Point Leamington. Wishing Melvin and Lena Grandy a happy 72nd anniversary. They're from Garnish and now live in Marystown. Now to some birthdays. Happy 95th birthday to Barbara Granter of Pools Island, now living in Badgers Key. Birthday wishes going out to Nina McGraw of New Bonaventure, now living in Clarenville. She's turning 90. Birthday greetings going out to Violet Pomeroy of Marachine, now living in St. John's. She's turning 92. Wishing Shirley Bailey from Gander a happy 90th birthday. Happy 96th birthday to Mildred Daw of Seldom, now living in Gander. Happy birthday to John Coffey of Whitburn. Hope you have a wonderful day. Birthday wishes going out to Eli Bushy of Brown's Arm, who just turned 94. Wishing Dave Taylor of Gander a happy 90th birthday from all his family. Happy 91st birthday today to Helen Windsor of St. John's. Sterling Freak is celebrating his 93rd birthday tomorrow. Hope you have a great day. Happy 94th birthday to Pearl Roberts and CBS. Love from family and friends. And happy 90th birthday to Vernon Petton of Port de Grave, celebrating on Monday. Another fine crowd. Congratulations once again. So Ashley, looking at the long range forecast, the weekend is here. You're going to skip ahead to Sunday and into next week, and some colder temperatures coming.
Definitely up across Labrador, which I'm sure is very welcome. It has been well above where you should be sitting this time of year, but it's going to be quiet, which is nice for our Sunday. Let's take a look at what's going on. So nice big ridge of high pressure to the west is going to start to dominate the weather picture. Now, it doesn't mean that we're going to see tons of sunshine, but it will certainly be less unsettled than it has been. Still looking at a little bit of gusty winds up across Labrador as that area of low pressure sits offshore, and then we've got the incoming area of high pressure tightening that gradient a little bit for you on Sunday. But overall, quiet. Coastal areas of Labrador, though, still may see a few flurries associated with that. They may reach the northern peninsula as well, particularly in the evening, and maybe even Bonavista North as well. Overall, our daytime highs will be back down below zero for most of us, or hovering right there for St. John's and even Port aux Basques, but hanging on to those cooler temperatures in Lab City. You'll sit around -9. And again, some sunshine in the mix there as well. So Sunday actually looks like, at this point, the best day of the weekend. As we head into the overnight and into Monday, a little bit of a disturbance moving through could bring some snow again, maybe even some showers as we start off the work week on Monday for really areas along the northeast coast, and that will continue into the evening for the Avalon. Overall, temperatures, again, will hover around zero, either a degree above or a couple of degrees below. But overall, really not moving a whole lot. And that will be the case up across Labrador, except most of you towards the coast and even central areas of Labrador, like Happy Valley, Goose Bay. We'll see those temperatures below zero, hanging out again around -10 into the afternoon. As far as the temperatures go for the long range forecast, it's not moving a whole lot. 0 to about +1 will be the daytime highs. Our overnight lows will dip into the minus single digits, but it is going to be unsettled Sunday, Monday, and even into Tuesday, Wednesday. We will see some sunshine at times, but also looking at the chance of some flurries. Now for Central, a little bit more in the way of some periods of snow. Monday, Tuesday, some flurries by the time we get into Wednesday, and again hovering around zero, a little bit below, and a couple of degrees colder in western Newfoundland. Monday at this point looks quiet, but Tuesday, Wednesday, some flurries will return. Now for Labrador, minus single digits, a few flurries in the mix there, and staying in the minus double digits for western Labrador. Again, some sun in the mix, but overall the potential for some flurries as we head into the beginning of next week. Great photo tonight. Look at this shot. I just thought this was postcard perfect.
Oh, it's gorgeous. The pop of color there.
Yeah,
Long
Peely's
time.
Island.
Nice.
Great shot there. Dennis and Roxanne shared that great shot with us. If you have any weather photos, send them to animalphotos@cbc.ca.
Thank you so much, Dennis and Roxanne. Lovely, lovely shot. Okay, well, that's it for us. Thank you so much for spending part of your evening with us, and hope you have a wonderful weekend.
Good night.